When 19-year-old Jessie Blodgett is found dead in her bed on July 15, 2013, her mother must make the most horrific call of her life.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Hartford 911, what's the problem?
My daughter is blue. I went to wake her up, and I just got home from lunch, and she won't wake up.
Is she breathing?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, not breathing? Okay.
I don't think so. She's blue. I tried to wake her up, and she's not even waking up.
Do you know how to do CPR, ma'am?
She's cold. She's cold.
She's cold?
She's cold. Oh my God.
She's cold.
Oh my God, she's good.
Okay.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Ma'am, stay on the line with me. We're going to get EMS out for you.
She's got, it looks like strangulation marks.
There are strangulation marks?
That's what it looks like. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, I'm going to page out police, so hang on. I will be with you in just a second.
There's no way.
Just like Mom, Cody, and Dad loved you. Nobody loved you anymore or any less.
I'm telling you right now, I do not think you're a murderer.
I helped her get her window open.
I don't think that you're a bad person, and something got out of control, and we needed to know where she's at.
All I want from you is a reason.
At first blush, when you receive a 911 call like that, obviously it's kept for evidence, it's kept for the police, but when you investigate what appears to be obviously a homicide to the 911 caller, so this strangulation marks the cold body, the caller is obviously not going to be a suspect at this point. She is so distraught, so upset, that you can tell that this is an emotional person, it's her mother. So sometimes when you get the 911 calls, it's the suspect calling in or the person who committed the crime. That would be the first thing off the table in my mind on this. It also speaks to the training required for 911 operators.
You'll notice that when the mom mentioned strangulation, that was the moment that that dispatcher said, okay, we need to get police involved. Strangulation is a known risk factor for intimate partner homicide. Strangulation, of course, can be self-inflicted. In this case, that was a sign to get police involved no matter what. Police would attend something like that. They're thinking about all sorts of things in this moment. But of course, they're keeping calm. They're trying to get information. You'll notice that the 911 dispatcher is not telling the mom, I need you to calm down. She's sticking to the facts. She's repeating things. It's not just to repeat to the mother to show that she's listened, but she's also relaying that information to people that need to know that will be attending on scene. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes in such a short span of time, and having to do that and be professional during that time and keep it together is a really difficult thing to do.
And by using factual information, she is trying to shut down this person's emotional reaction by asking her specific questions to refocus her on the essential details.
Days before Jessie's murder, a separate violent incident is reported. It doesn't take long to bring in Daniel Bartelt, who was attending Jessie's vigil when police called. Police are unaware of Daniel's connection to Jessie.
Where were we at again? House in Hartford, just Blodgett's house. Jessie who? Blodgett. Is that the girl that just passed? Yeah, you were visiting her. Thanks. Okay, sorry to hear about it. And the mirrors? Yeah. Are you working right now? Yeah. Where are you working? Associate engineering. And what do you do there? Mostly cart around materials and gopher? Yeah. Okay, so you don't have like a trade or anything like that? You're kind of I'm kind of. Yeah. Okay, and what are your usual work hours? Usually 7 to 5. What kind of vehicle do you have? I drive my parents' caravan. It's a 2002. Yeah. Is that Dodge? Yep. And what color is it? Where's that at now? At my friend Davis's house. We met up at Richfield and we're out here. Okay. Talk to Jesse's parents. All right. Do you know what this is about? No. Okay. About Jesse? No. This is about an incident that Detective Walsh and I investigated and happened last Friday. You were off last Friday, right? Yes. Okay. So this happened at a park. And if you have any knowledge about what this is, best to tell me now. I understand that. Yes. Okay. Done. Were you at a park last Friday? No. At any park? Right. Don't. Each of them. Okay. Is it possible that you're at a park? No. Okay. Because what we have is an instrument that we're working on, and it could be painted in a couple of directions. Okay. What kind of cell phone? Basic spider phone. Okay. All right. Do you realize that those cell phones are kind of like GPSs? You'd be able to trace that. I just want to make sure. I don't want any lie.
Well, they obviously have an incident that happened at the park, and they're giving him a chance to say something about it. He's chosen to say, I wasn't there, and they very quickly go to the GPS coordinate tracking system on the phone. So they're basically walking him through this pretty quickly. They're going to start presenting facts to him that we will know that you were at the park. He's told them where the van was. He's told them all this stuff. So they're going to be able to go now and send people out while he's even in that room to find that van. They're probably right immediately or have already done his phone. If they had his number, they could easily track the phone.
I think it's very interesting that although he started the interview showing some emotion, he shut that down completely. His hands are on his legs. He's not gesturing at all. He's giving minimal information, which is quite different from the baseline we saw when he first got in there.
So, is it possible you're at? I don't think it's over. What do you? So that you last Friday. Where have you been working? No. Okay. So go through your day last Friday. What happened? I probably for a living. And I'm not saying that you were involved in anything. I was just wondering if you were there. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? There's a big difference with me being involved. What happened to your arm? Where? On your elbow. Oh, probably. No number. Do you have any other injuries that we need to know about? No. See your hands? Go like this. No hands on your tongue. Got stabbed with a screw at work. Oh. Got off. Like a carpet with my stuff around on there. Screw. When did that happen? It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't look good. Last week. Thursday. All right, dude, in there. All right. So I'm sure, but I don't want to talk how was that? Pulling it away. I grabbed onto it and I immediately yanked it away. So I scraped my phone. Was there anything out there? No. What is this about? This is where I already told you what this is about. We're investigating an incident at Hagley Park. Okay? Last Friday. Last Friday, when you were off work. And I just simply asked if you were there. No? Okay.
So the injuries that they're asking about are defensive marks from a victim, most likely. When somebody points this out, the accused will usually say, oh, well, it had something to do with my job, I fell down, whatever. What we're seeing here is similarly to other interrogations you would see, people use terms like probably, maybe, I don't know. You would remember if you fell down and injured yourself to that degree, one would think, unless you hit your head and couldn't remember or something like that. If it was something that happened at work, mind you, he's in university, so maybe there's a different policy, you would have some sort of incident report usually about something like that. Something as small as even just a little burn if you work in food service. You'd have to normally do some sort of documentation around that. There's nothing like that here. The police are leading him already pretty early on to connect the incident at the park, which they haven't identified what it is, with these defensive marks.
And also they're setting him up for the DNA test, which is going to come. If he left his blood sample at the scene, or there's, like you said, fingernail scrapings on the, if there's a victim, the DNA comes two ways. It's either what you left or what they took. So they're basically setting him up, saying, okay, you got hurt at work, you don't know what happened there. At some point, the DNA will come out, and it's going to disprove his nail theory and the I don't know what happened.
They're proceeding rapidly, aren't they?
Very rapidly, in my opinion, but they obviously have something up their sleeve
Yes.
to do this, and I think it's a good strategy. This fellow here obviously is probably due to the fact they have the DNA maybe already, they have something with the phone tracking, they don't have to wait around. They're just pushing this down the track as fast as they can.
Yes.
With the interrogation moving quickly, investigators must continue to build rapport with Daniel Bartelt. But what Daniel doesn't know is that another crime has been reported, one that also has his name all over it. Officers will work to sow confusion in hopes that the truth of either of these crimes can lead to his undoing.
What if I had to tell you that there might be something that links you there? You ever been to, you know what park we're talking about?
No.
It's a park off of 164, south of Pleasant Hill.
Okay.
Okay, you ever been in that park before?
Probably. I think so.
Okay. All right. Something happened there last Friday that we need to explain, okay? And we have evidence. And what happens is we have, and you ever heard of Locard's exchange principle?
No.
Edwin Locard, he's a scientist, 200 years ago out in France. And he came up, you know what
Prisoner's dilemma, the economics thing?
What's that?
Prisoner's dilemma, that economics thing?
No, this is more of he came up with what professors do is, and scientists do, they come up with really complicated names for something that's very simple. The exchange principle basically says is that wherever you are, two things happen. You leave off something of yours and you take something of someone else's. Okay?
Yeah.
Which means that, like, for example, this room, okay? Before we came in, or when we leave here, we're gonna do two things.
Okay, stop the tape. That's something we've not seen very often in an interview, where he uses information from an ancient professor 200 years ago. He's playing to this guy's intelligence. He's actually taking him on a path that you can't do with someone who has no idea what you're talking about. He even had was it about economics?
Yes.
Like
yes.
the rebuttal on that?
Yeah.
No, it's not about that. I love this approach. It's unique, and it's not going to be many police officers can come up with that theory and present it to a criminal. That's what I like about it. I've never heard it said before to a criminal. Obviously, they have a plan. They put their plan together before they went in this room. And it's quite a piece of good police work, in my opinion, so far.
And they got him to respond on an intellectual level.
Yes.
He's now interested.
Yeah.
They want to draw him into the communication and hope that he incriminates himself.
It's actually a very good strategy, I believe.
We have seen it before, maybe not in these terms, in terms of meeting somebody where they're at. We do see that. If you have a career criminal, we'll call them, someone who comes in quite frequently, who has a very long rap sheet, a long history with the criminal justice system, police officers can take a wide range of approaches, but we've seen officers that'll talk to them like buddies. They'll be like, look, you know the system, I know the system, let's get to brass tacks here. This is a similar approach, just with a very different person. This is someone who, as far as we know, doesn't have a criminal record. This is someone who they know is highly intelligent as far as book smarts. He's meeting him where he's at, and that's getting him to talk, and that's what's important here. Let's roll the tape.
All we're looking for is the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if something happened out there that we can explain, what we have is we have evidence, okay? But we can't snap our fingers and that have that evidence come through. Okay, we got a tip which led to you for whatever reason. Okay?
What happened with this about?
This is about an incident that we're involved in. But I can't tell you everything exactly, okay? All right?
Okay.
But my first question was that were you out there? And you say no.
No.
Okay? I'm just trying to let you know that if you were out there, we have evidence of the person who was out there. We have evidence from the person that was out there. Okay?
Okay.
I can't tell you everything right now because that would be unwise from my position.
Okay.
But we have evidence from the person that was out there, which needs to be determined by the state, analyzed by the state crime lab.
Okay.
Just to match up. Okay? In the meantime, we're talking to people that we get tips on about what went on out there. Okay? We also have an eyewitness. Okay? We haven't shown the eyewitness any photographs yet. Okay, and I'd hate to put down your picture in front of a witness and have them say, well, that's the guy that was out there. You know what I'm saying? Or they didn't have any of the DNA or fingerprint evidence or anything like that come back to Daniel. Yeah, he's gonna have to come back. Remember this? We talk about this. So here I am again. Okay, why am I here? Well, I'll explain to you because now I can prove that you're out there. It's not just a tip. I can prove. And all I'm getting at is that if you were out there, just talk to us about what happened or what you saw or what you observed or whatever. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Okay, so it's very important that we talk about it.
He's giving them an out. He's saying, if you were there, tell me what you did. Tell me, we have this evidence. It's going to come back to somebody. We think you might have been there. Tell us why you were there. He's giving him every possible out to come up with a story of what he was there for, what he did. And notice his replies.
And he's still showing no emotionality. He's not being outraged. Like, what are you talking about? Do you think I did something? He's playing it very cool. His emotions are really under control very much. We see very little hand gestures, very little body language that suggests that he is upset with what's going on.
He's doing none of the defensive things of an innocent person does. Innocent people don't sit there and take that kind of abuse at an interview. And he's being, in my opinion, questioned to the point of a suspect, and he's not even batted an eye. An innocent person would be going, well, I'm going home. You got something on me? Fine, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And he's not doing any of those things like you noticed to portray his innocence.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking about is if I was in that position, I would be incredibly defensive. It doesn't matter what they're potentially accusing me of. I don't care what the nature of the crime is. I'd be really concerned. Was I accidentally part of some sort of crime scene without knowing it? Did I accidentally put someone in danger? What is this all about? Did they get the wrong person? These are all the thoughts that would be flooding my mind if I was that person.
And since the opening of the interview, remember, he has not asked anything about her. He's not mentioned Jessie. There's been no reference to her. Again, very strange. You think as a friend who had his brutal murders caused him to cry, he'd be saying, I want to know more about this. This isn't this first detective's rodeo. He's been through this before. He's playing it very good. Roll the tape.
Got it on TV, and but it wasn't me, and I don't want to trouble, basically. Again, the truth is going to help us put some resolution to this for everybody involved, okay? We got one scared person out there right now who's looking over their shoulder every single second, okay? Because they're scared. They don't know why this would have happened to them, okay? We want to be able to put some closure to them so they don't have to look over their shoulder. They don't have to be scared of every person they see, every person that's behind them, every person that's in front of them, and have sleepless nights day in and day out, okay? We need to be able to put some resolution.
It's interesting that the accused hasn't said what happened. They just said it was an argument, and they said, in quotes, this thing. Even in talking about the victim's perspective and advocating for the victim as police, that is their role, that the officer isn't saying what happened. They're just saying this person has to look over their shoulder all the time. They're living in fear, but they're not saying what it was that actually happened. They're leaving it for him to say.
Sometimes these guys, they revel in the fact that the people are afraid of them, that they're living in paranoia over what they did.
They're making an assumption that he has
I don't know if it's going to go the right way.
It could inflate someone's ego.
Well, they're making an assumption that he has empathy for other people, that he would care about things, that he would feel guilty that someone else out there is suffering.
It's a tactic. I hope it works.
Knowing they are on the verge of a breakthrough, officers keep pressing Daniel Bartelt to tell the truth and do the right thing.
What happens to you? Well, first of all, we need to get the truth. Okay? And based upon what we believe the truth is, we have to go by that. Okay? We all have parts of the story, put the rest of the pieces together. Okay? We've given you the parts, and you know the parts we have to prove that you're involved. Okay? But we want to know more the why, what you were thinking, where you were in your mindset, your life. You were there, right? No, was that correct? And you were in your van, after your mom's van. But And you went after that girl, right? Yes. Okay. Why? What were you going to do? Have sex with her? No. What were you going to do? I'm scared. So, what happened? Walk us through what you remember about what happened. And let me come to a place in time. You're in your van, and you see her pull it. You know what kind of car she was driving? I think it was white. Okay. Van or car or SUV car. And she gets out. What are you thinking? Nothing at that point. Reading. Oh, you're reading? 12 hours, 5. Her mom get it. So then what? It was started going. She disappears, right? Yeah. And then what? How long later was it till you saw her? Okay. Then what happens? There, you're down, I'm scared. You ran out there, knock her down. Did she say anything to you? Something. How did why or what the hell? How did you scare her? What did you do to scare her? With your hands or with what? The thing you found. Just what? The beer can? That's what we're not gonna put words in your mouth. No, we need what your version of events.
His body language is suggesting that now, in addition to thinking how much shall I tell them, he's showing signs, indication of shame or regret or guilt by covering his face this way.
He's also hiding any sort of reaction, right? What we've seen, and people might be wondering, why is it that the officers, after this very serious thing that he said he's done, are laughing? Right? Even if it's just a little bit of a chuckle. His head is in his hands and he's disguising any sort of facial reactions. He's also actively thinking about what he's going to be saying. The minute that he clams up, because he just started to provide some information, the officers are trying to back off a little bit, give him some space and make things a little bit more lighthearted.
They don't want to drive him back in a shell. They want to keep him talking, and he's cooperating but not fully cooperating yet. He's saying, yeah, I did this, I did that. But he's not getting to the horrible part of this crime. He's still ashamed to say it, and whether he does or not will be interesting.
Confirmation of Bartelt's involvement in the park attack now places him suspiciously close to the murder of his friend, Jessie Blodgett.
This murder of Jessie has been brought up at the beginning and then just left out on the wings. And they're taking him on this serious offense down with this other girl, and obviously they're going to come back. The rivers are going to join again. They're going to come back together at some point.
Yes.
Let's roll the tape.
And then what happened? Ran away. She sped away. Okay. What happened with that knife? I lost it. So when I call her, what do I tell her? Why did you pick her? Someone was there. This knife sheath, where was it? Where was it? Did you have it on your person when you attacked her? Where was it on your person? Not the knife itself. Yeah, all right. So it wasn't on your belt? No. Okay. Why did you throw that out? Have it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why did you throw it out? Didn't want to be found with it. And where did you throw it out? Okay. Where did you go after this happened? Off the road a little ways, went outside, freaked out, got him up. Stand up, put your hands behind you there.
Officers arrest Daniel Bartelt for the attack in the park on the other woman. As Daniel now sits in jail awaiting bail, police take the opportunity to review something Daniel had said in the first interview.
Where were you at again? House in Hartford, Jessie Blodgett's house. Jessie who? Blodgett? Is that the girl that just passed? Yeah, you were visiting her. Thanks. Okay, sorry to hear about it. And the mirrors? Yeah. What happened? Good. Someone raped them. You think so, or they think so, or what? They think so.
What Daniel thinks is an indiscreet comment about his friend's tragic passing,
Someone raped them.
the police see as an unusual observation. At this point in the investigation, no one knows there's a sexual assault element to Jessie Blodgett's case.
If you noticed on the previous interview, they obtained sufficient evidence to be able to handcuff him and take him for a bail hearing. He obviously was refused bail, hence the prison garb. He's now in custody for the previous offense. They brought him in now for questioning in the murder of Jessie. So you're going to see an entire different approach, different detectives, different demeanor, very much different.
So obviously you heard about this, and my understanding is that you were at this vigil yesterday at your parents' house. Yeah. How did you hear about Jessie?
I heard it on Tuesday morning. My friend George texted me a status someone had posted on, I think, Twitter. It said, R.I.P. Jessie. Tried to find out more from other people, and eventually my friend Davis called. They were even better friends than we were. Told me about it, and we met up and then went over to her parents' house.
What I think is really interesting is that right off the start, the accused here is misdirecting to a friend and specified that Davis was a really close friend of Jessie. What that really implies is that if they think that he being Daniel, was capable of something like this, well, then any of her friends, especially her really close friends, could have done it. He's effectively putting distance between himself and the victim in terms of him being a possible murderer.
And he's probably taking a different tack. The last time they took him where they wanted him to go on that previous interview for that crime, he's probably going to be a little more coy this time. I'm not going to make the same mistakes twice. Normally what would happen in the case of Jessie, depending on what people had seen in the neighborhood, vehicles or anything like that, they may not have a long list of suspects. So they're going through, well, who's the friends, who does she know? They would be asking family members, everyone. His name would have popped up as an associate, as a fellow musician, a fellow student, or whatever the case may be. And then back at the office, they'd go, wow, he attacked this girl in the park. Suddenly this happens. We may have something here worth pursuing. So who knows what DNA evidence, what other evidence they've obtained, his whereabouts, whatever the case may be. They probably have some other evidence on him that they found through due diligence and investigation.
Orchestra, said you were an orchestra with her? Which point?
Violin.
Okay, she played violin too?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was concertmaster, she was second chair.
Okay. You said you were spending a lot of time together. Did you have a physical relationship? Either in high school, recently, anything like that?
A few times.
Okay. When was that? Was that
in high school and in the past few weeks?
okay? So you had it. And I'm not trying to ask I'm not trying to embarrass you or upset you any more than I have to, but I do have to ask these questions. When I'm saying physical, I mean you guys had, was that just like kissing or was it intercourse? Like physical?
Never had sex.
It could be that they're trying to establish, did he have a fetish for her, did he like her because they're musicians, they're playing all the background stuff together to get at what the relationship was. I think the questions about physical contact has to be clarified for DNA. Did you have sex with her recently? If he said yes, then any DNA sexual evidence found at the scene would be kind of out the door. So, but he has now said, no, we didn't have sex. So the DNA becomes relevant at this point. Also, these questions about where you were in the orchestra, he obviously has given her a senior position to him in it. They're trying to probably establish, was there jealousy, was there some kind of issue going on, maybe she wasn't cooperating with you like you liked in your relationship. They're going to lead to this point. So these are all standard get to know you questions about what he did. But I think in this case, the whole thing was wrapped around the DNA potential at the murder scene.
It sounds like you had a fairly close relationship with her. Is there anything in what you saw that she was depressed, upset about anything? No.
I don't think she'd ever hurt herself.
No. Okay, why not? I mean, everybody can be low. Everybody can be upset.
She wasn't living for herself. If she could help others, she would. And she always would be able to do that.
She had a,
I don't believe she did.
okay. When she was living, I mean, did she have she had a pretty well-defined direction in life? And she knew where she was going, or was she still trying to figure that all out?
She had a general idea. It was a good one. She wanted to teach music.
Okay.
So she was already doing it. She had students. She always thought I was a better musician, but never came close to anything like that.
No.
So when's the last time you actually physically saw Jessie?
Monday or Tuesday last week.
Okay, I'm a little confused. You said you didn't actually meet up?
On Maxwell Street days, we didn't.
Okay,
It
so
was tooling around Richfield. I told her I was working because I didn't feel like going to see her, but I didn't want her to think I was just.
He's describing a person with integrity, somebody that was well-loved, well-liked, somebody that had everything going for them. And I think where police might be going with this is saying she's everything that you weren't, and leading him down a path to talk more about potential motive. We're seeing some emotionality. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Is it fake? Is it real?
Someone that you maybe felt competitive with and resentful of. Her life was working and she was disciplined. She had boundaries for herself about what she would eat, what she wouldn't eat, what she would do, what she wouldn't do.
A very clear ethos.
That's right. Completely different from his life, which is going down the drain. So I suspect that what we're going to see is a feeling of competition that she was not even aware of, but he's feeling like a loser relative to her and resentful of where she's going and how he is really failing in his life.
at her house. And is that where you guys would hang out mostly, or?
Yeah.
Okay, did you hang out anywhere else in the house?
If we were gonna do anything, we went upstairs.
To where?
Bedroom.
Okay. So you lived in your bedroom? Okay. When was the last time you were in your bedroom?
Last week.
Just like prying a little bit, what did you guys do in the bedroom?
Fooled around.
So where would you guys be standing or sitting or laying?
On her bed.
You guys just kissing?
Made out.
Okay. Did it lead to anything else?
Yeah.
Did you have intercourse?
No, but I fingered her.
Is she okay with that? They asked you to. How long were you making out?
No.
You guys have your clothes on or not? Including your underwear in that too?
So just a second, stop the tape. We see his emotionality. He's reliving this experience, feeling a sense of loss and sorrow, maybe guilt, very strong negative emotions. And they're leading him through. It could be interesting to see when he talks about why did they not have intercourse? Was he not able to do that? Did she not want him to do that? So a very significant difference from when he was interrogated by the other detectives.
With Daniel Bartelt close to the breaking point, officers know that they just need to keep him talking to get what they need from him. Daniel Bartelt, in custody for assault of a local woman in a park, is being interrogated by police for the murder of Jessie Blodgett. He's emotional and giving way to tears, but experts have another idea of what's behind this.
He's crying for himself here. This is about his internal strife he's having over what he did during this phase.
Yes.
Like, it went from, she's my fellow musician, she's my friend, to killing her. How did he make that leap at that time?
His life has just deteriorated, losing his job, school, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just a downward spiral leading to this.
Mm-hmm. The officers also brought up consent, which is, as we know, incredibly important. Generally, and in a case like this, by asking if she wanted that kind of sexual contact, it's going to be primed in his mind about any sort of consensual or non-consensual act following that day that they're talking about. Let's roll the tape.
Did her parents know that you were there?
I don't think they know we were doing anything.
When did you guys go upstairs?
After her parents left.
Whose idea was it to go upstairs?
Hers. Started kissing on the couch, and she asked if I wanted to go up with her.
You never had intercourse, though? How come?
I couldn't do that to Ashley. You think of Jessie. I didn't want to hurt her.
Jessie or Ashley? You say you don't want to hurt her.
Either one. Not Ashley.
Okay.
So you're kind of torn between the two ladies? Are you intimate with Ashley?
Yes. I didn't think it would be fair to either of them to be intimate at the same time. I didn't do anything till we had it resolved.
You guys talking about somehow resolving it?
Let's break up with Ashley.
What were you thinking about doing now?
It's dangerous.
This feeling of, I miss her so badly, I think this is a case of trying to cover up his emotionality with a different explanation. I'm a nice guy, and the reason I'm so upset is not because my life has fallen apart and because I'm being interrogated for murder, but because I miss her.
Yeah.
I have a different idea on the statement, I miss her so much, and that's that he genuinely does miss her, but in a way that we might not think about. He talked about wanting to break up with Ashley on the same day that Jessie was murdered. My thinking is, based on what we've seen so far, that he broke up with Ashley, went to Jessie and said, I broke up with her, we can finally be together, and Jessie said, well, no, I don't want to be with you like that, and rejected him in some way that had him reacting this way. He could miss her because he misses the potential of having been able to be with her, what we would view as maybe a very twisted sense of missing someone, that potential of being able to be with him, similarly to how he had all this potential in his life that he wasn't able to amount to.
And that will come up because they would have interviewed Ashley by now.
Oh, absolutely.
And done that, so they would know the timeline of what he said to her and whether she's aware of this or not. So they have this in their pocket and probably are baiting him with that Ashley versus Jessie scenario. I find this an extremely interesting case in the sense that here's a person going along in what would seemingly be a normal pattern and just snapping and going to a knife attack on a girl, to attacking a girl that he knows very well in her home, and then taking the evidence from that scene to the garbage can in the park where the first crime was committed. He has basically laid out in a very short order what he was doing by leaving evidence and forensically being able to track him through the internet and through his phone, and plus the excellent steps the police took with him initially to break him. And in the second interview, having him in this emotional state would show that he is feeling so guilty or ashamed about what he's done, but they were able to track him forensically.
I think it's likely that he raped Jessie, not because he loved her, but because he wanted to feel a sense of power and control over her. And then realizing what he did, he needed to kill her to shut her up, because she would have told others and his life would have been even worse. So we can see how a person's life deteriorates right in front of them, and how they can be filled with resentment and jealousy toward the people who are more successful, and then seek out a victim to be able to dominate them.
The most important thing to take away from this is that this victimization extends far beyond the person who's murdered, and that those effects will last indefinitely.
Every time you find a crime scene, you take everything. That's why you see all the little yellow triangles. Everything is picked up because you do not know what you're finding which links you to another crime scene. And he basically left his own conviction at the other crime scene.
But that said, without that woman in the park who was attacked, having the strength to go forward, it takes a lot. Even if there's a lot of physical evidence, it takes a lot for somebody to come forward and report a crime. And this is a person who also has been affected for the rest of her life. These things, again, affect people indeterminately.
This person is what looked like a normal human being turned into a monster in a very short period of time. And fortunately, through forensics, good investigation, and witnesses, he was put in jail for the rest of his life.
I have a disgustingly innate ability to lie to myself that I've exercised far too many times in my life. This jumpsuit that I'm wearing, these shackles that I'm put in, don't make me guilty. And I know there's evidence that I can't refute that would make you believe that I am guilty. I can't prove that I'm innocent to anyone, not even myself.